Hello, everyone. Hello. Thank you for joining. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Funke Ogunoike, but I'm popularly known as Mrs. La Funky. You're attending Family Corner of Truly Making a Difference Ministry. Truly Making a Difference Ministry is a ministry that is held and managed by my husband and I. We're based in Warwickshire, and Family Corner is the family ministry of Truly Making a Difference ministry. We normally organize like different conferences like every sort of quarter, like quarterly. There was one that was held in January, and that was about understanding the laws around physical chastisement, understanding the guidance around leaving your children alone at home. This was held January 2021. And we normally organize various programs as well. We're based on YouTube, and also we are on Facebook, Truly Making a Difference Ministry. So welcome, 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 welcome. Thank you for registering to be a part of this conference. Tonight's conference is about supporting your children through the UK education system. You're probably wondering, why is this topic? You're going to find out more from our speakers. However, why we decided to organize this topic is basically we recognize the some of sort of African and Caribbean parents. Some of them didn't maybe they didn't grow up in this country, and they don't really understand the education system. And also from my observation, I've also seen that even parents that maybe are educated, they need sort of support in understanding how they can support their children with the UK education system. So it's not about, so this conference is not for people that don't know their left from right. It's for all of us to come and learn how to support our children better. And I'm so grateful to see different people online this evening, tonight, I must say. So once again, you're welcome to Family Corner of Truly Making a Difference, the family ministry of our ministry. And tonight's conference is an education conference. It's about supporting your children through the UK education system. So just for me to have a bit of interaction going, if you can just leave a comment in the chat section, let me know where you're watching from. Like I said, Truly Making a Difference is based in Warwickshire. You can just say the name of your city, your county. You don't need to be too specific where you live. So let's have that sort of interaction going in the chat section. Where are you watching? Where are you participating from? So can we get some Coventry? Okay, so let's keep it going. You never know, you might have a next door neighbor, somebody in your city that you want to sort of liaise with, okay? Please feel free. There are about 19 people online. Let's keep it going. Okay, I'm seeing London, Coventry, Warsaw. Okay. Please keep it going. Somerset, wow. Essex, wow. Stepping Stones, wow. London, Essex, wow. Keep it going, keep it going. Let's know where you're watching from, okay? Keep it going, keep it going. Hackney, I believe Hackney is in London. Okay, Canada. Oh, wow, Canada, Michelle. Wow. Okay, okay. So we're gonna start. I'm not gonna take too long of our time. This conference is a briefing, is an hour briefing, and then there's an opportunity for you to ask any question or contribution as well, because I know we have some parents, some guidance that really experience when it comes to how we can support our children with their education. So I'm sure they are going to also be contributing as well. So I'm gonna introduce our first speaker now. Our first speaker is Mrs. Fumi Adeyemi. She's an educationist. She's married. She's a mother of 4. And she has over 7 years of experience in working in education. She works in a primary school in England. She is a CEO. She runs her own tutoring classes from year 2 above, preparing children for both independent and grammar schools. She also has a qualification in mental health for children, and she's been working with children for over 15 years. Over 15 years. So she's She's a woman with a wealth of experience. Sister Fumi, I've taught her children in teenage church, so I know she's an all-rounder. Likewise, our children. So if we can just say hello to Mrs. Fumi Adeyemi in the comment section, the chat section, just say good evening, hello, Mrs. Fumi Adeyemi. You're welcome, Mrs. Fumi Adeyemi. Over to you.
Okay, hello everyone, good evening, and thank you, Lafunky, for having me here to just share a bit of my thoughts in supporting children in the UK primary education. And honestly, today I'm not going to be talking just about the UK education because I can see that we've got children, we've got participants from all over, from all over. We've got some from Canada, some from Nigeria, and all over. So we're just going to be talking about how we're going to support our children in education, basically. I'll just share, I like to share my screen. Um, 1 minute. Okay. Okay, so supporting children in the UK education. So my first slide here, I have tried to break down the British school system. So the British school system is made up of state-funded schools, which is the free to attend school. We've got the independent school, which is the private, the private schools. We've got the academy, and we have also got the grammar schools. We've got the KS1, which is popularly known as the Key Stage 1, where we have the early years, age 3 to 4, the reception class, age 4 to 5, year 1, age 5 to 6, and here they usually do their phonics screening, and then year 2, age 6 to 7, where they sit their national assessment test, which is the SAT exams. We also have KS2, which is the Key Stage 2, year 3, age 7 to 8, year 4, age 8 to 9, year 5, age 9 to 10, and year 6, age 10 to 11. And at age 10 to 11, the children would usually write their SAT exams, which is also the national assessment. Assessments are usually done at the end of the summer term, and the school writes reports on your child's progress. So the school, it's an opportunity where the school, your children's class teacher talks about, your child's progress, and
This light.
it's also a time when you have the chance to speak to your class teacher, your child's class teacher, about your child's progress or what it is that you are concerned about. But I usually would advise that it is important you do not wait till that time to speak to your class teacher. It's important to speak to your child's class teacher. Okay, if you have concerns before that time, it's usually good for you to just, call in and ask questions. Most families hope for a good local state school, especially at primary school level, okay, in particularly. However, state primary schools do not prepare children for 11 plus entrance exams, and they do not prepare children for independent school exams. So, if you are aiming at a selective secondary school, you will have to prepare your child privately or independently, basically. And this is something that I know that quite a number of people are unaware of. A lot of people feel like, oh, well, we're in school, they're definitely going to be preparing my children for this exam or that exam. State schools do not do that. So first, I must say that what your child brings to school or to the classroom matters every bit as much as, as much and in so many ways, even more than what they are taught in school. We live in a world where there's so much expectation, there's so much competition, where you need at least 5 good GCSE grades, okay, at the minimum requirement. And giving your child the edge is very important. I cannot overemphasize that. It's important to give your child an edge. It's important you have your child stand out in whatever it is that they're doing. Your child's positive daily learning attitude can directly improve their performance. And when I say the daily attitude. I'm talking about what we're doing at home. What is it that you're doing with your child at home? Because this also reflects in school. I've always believed that nature, okay, can be nurtured. We have some children who just, generally they just have it. They do not need anybody to push them. They do not need anybody talking to them to pick up their books. They do not need anybody reminding them. It just comes straight. But we also have a set of children who just need a little bit of push. They need a little bit of encouragement. They need you to be, to be there talking to them about this. They need you to be intentional. Again, we have some children who, to be honest, they really can't be bothered. Okay, but it is our responsibility as parents to intentionally, okay, push these children to doing that which is expected of them. I remember when I first got to the country, to the UK, I remember an auntie told me then, she said, look, for me, although you're in the UK, all the schools in the UK are not the same. We have schools that, are outstanding. We have schools that, are good rating. We have schools that are just average. But irrespective of the kind of school where your child is, it is important for you to support your child as much as you can. It is important for you to pay attention to what your child is doing. And here I'd like to say again that for a lot of us, a lot of parents, we're not aware that your child can actually, especially in this country where they do not even repeat classes, your child can actually be in, say, for example, year five, and he actually is working at a year one level, and you wouldn't know. And the child keeps moving from year one to year two to year three to year four to year five. But the child is not necessarily, working at that level. So if you're not asking questions, if you're not involved in the learning process of your child, then you wouldn't even know. So it's important for us to pay a lot of attention to this. I understand that, we're very busy. I understand that, there's we have lots of things we're working at. We have a lot of things that we're doing, but it's important for us to be very intentional. My next slide here says ways to be involved in our children's ways to be in can everybody hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
All good.
You're loud and clear.
Oh, okay, 1 second, please. Sorry.
We can.
Oh, okay. So it's very important for us to. So here I have ways to be involved in our children's education. I'll tell you something that just happened right now. I'm sharing my screen, and I've just got my son who walked in now, and I noticed he was pointing at something. Apparently, although I'm sharing my screen, it's not the full screen. So it was trying to show me what to do, and I wasn't even sure what to do. So he just pointed that out to me now. So I'll move on to the next slide. I said, number one, be intentional. I understand that we are all busy, we have busy schedules, we have busy lifestyles and all. But whatever your lifestyle is, whatever your family situation is, it's never too late or too soon to start helping your child develop that positive attitude towards learning. I usually do this with my children. I draw up a timetable, and they also have independent timetables as well. So at the beginning of every term, I say to them, I'd like to see your timetable. I'd like to see your timetable and your timetable. For us, it's a guide. Okay, it helps us to organize ourselves. It's a routine. I like them to have a routine, that they follow through every day. And so as parents, it's important for us to be intentional. Let's draft a timetable for your children, or let them know that as soon as I come back from school, I have my dinner. After my dinner, I go, I take a shower if I need to take a shower, and then I need to sit down and study. 1 hour is not too much for a child, okay, to do a child in primary school. It's not too much. You sit down, and study for a little bit. It's important for us as parents as well to be able to listen to our children when they read. Let them read out to you. Let them read out to you. Hear them read to you. For those ones that are quite young, say younger than 6 years old, okay, read to them consciously, put them in that routine mood. Give them that routine. Number two, I said teach your children that failure is a stepping stone. Teach them that failure is a stepping stone to success. Teach them to understand that any skill requires a period of incompetence in order to get competent. Teach them to be resilient, to be able to push through. We, during this lockdown, after the lockdown, actually, we realized that we had an assessment and realized that a lot of children who actually scored, did above average, okay, are children that had parents um who were intentional with them, parents who supported them at home, parents who were doing something with them at home. Sometimes we set, work on the class page and we realize that there's some children that don't even bother. They don't even look at it. They don't even open it at all, And when we got back to school and we had our assessment, it was quite obvious. For those children who were submitting their work online, for those children who were had access to support at home, they did a lot better than for those that did not have that kind of support. Okay, so let your children also know that failure is a stepping stone to success. You need to keep at it. You cannot give up. You have to keep at it, even when you struggle. It's all part of life. That's what the real life is. That's what the real world is. Okay, teach them to carry on. They need to develop that resilience. I've also put there that talk to them about your failures and how you overcame them. I think this is quite important because we may take it a bit for granted that success requires hard work and overcoming of obstacles, but this is not necessarily obvious to children. If you take your time to explain your experience of learning curve, it will help them to connect hard work with future rewards. Okay, teach them that look, you also at some point you have your challenges, you also struggled at one point or the other, and this is how you overcame it. Okay, being in school is something that you have to do. You have to be intentional about it. You have to be able to. I tell the children that I work with, I say to them, oh, good readers are good leaders. Okay, the more books you read, the better leader you are. I say to them, do you know what, you don't have a choice in this matter. A lot of the children that I teach know that is my language. I say to them, you just have to do it. This is the only responsibility you have at this age. So you have to do it. You have to study. They need to know that they do not have a choice, because the truth is, in school, we don't say this to them. So, as a parent, this is where you need to continue to remind your children where they're coming from, where they need to get to. You need to be able to push them. Some people might disagree with me. They might say, oh, you know what, it could cost them a little bit of mental health. But I know just a little bit of push here and there, a little bit of encouragement, makes them stand out. I've also put there have a routine, which I think I've spoken about already, and then communicate with school. You need to establish, as parents, we need to establish that friendly relationship with your child's class teacher. Quiz them. Ask them questions. When they say to you, "Oh, your child is working at the working above national the expectation, national expectation, or national curriculum," ask them, what is national curriculum? You're a layman, you're not a teacher, you're not an educationist. You need to understand that language. You need to know what they're talking about. You need to ask them questions. You need to tell them, oh, I have seen this, my child has written this. What does this mean? But again, if you're not involved in your child's work, if you're not involved in your child's learning process, you wouldn't even know the right questions to ask. So it's important for us to be involved. Ask them to explain to you what the terms they've used in those reports mean. What is working above or below national curriculum? What does it mean? Do not be shy. That's your child. That's your investment. You need to ask them these questions. I've also said again, we usually send out communication books to parents. Use the communication books as much as you can. If you have queries, if you have any concerns about your child or your children, use those communication books and ask questions. It's quite important. The next point I put there is don't overpraise, and I'll explain what I mean by this. So explain to your children that trophies, awards, and prizes are earned. You have to work hard to get these things. It's not something you don't just sit down and think, oh, once I just write A, then I can achieve this. No, let them understand that, trophies are earned, awards are earned, prizes are earned, praises are earned. Okay, you have to do something to deserve it. There is power in setting positive but realistic expectations, to children. A lot of parents tend to overpraise their children. Oh, the child just does something, really small, and then you just think, oh, you've been fantastic. Oh, that's really great. Oh, well done. Oh, yes, praise them. Well done. You've done well. Okay, but you know what? You can actually do better. Okay, I know you can do this better. I know you can get you can have better grades. I know you can do. Oh, well done. I know we can do it together. Praise them a little and let them know where they need to work on, what they need to work on, the areas they need to work on. Now, the next point here for me is I can't overemphasize it. Catch them young. It's so important to catch them young. Set a routine for them as young as early as possible. Okay, when they're still babies, set a routine. Is it their feeding time, their sleeping time? Set that routine. Let the child be accustomed to a certain routine. Okay, by the time the child gets into, say, reception, into nursery, into reception, and into year one, the child already knows that, look, this is what I need to do at this time. This is what I need to do. This is how I need to do things and all. Let them have that sense of responsibility. Let them be organized from young. There are times, obviously, even as parents, that you might feel a little bit, tired and or I feel tired sometimes as well. There are times, honestly, when I really don't want to do these things. But somewhere in my head, I'm like, oh, do you know what? You just have to do it. You just have to do it. You just have to do it. Just because I need the children to have a routine. You need to catch them young. You can't wait until the child is, say in year 5, maybe 10 years old, and then you now say, oh, I want my child to go to a grammar school or an independent school and all. Meanwhile, you haven't done anything, in the past. You have to start from when they are young. You need to start preparing them. You need to know what you want to achieve. You can't leave it all to the school teacher. No, you can't leave it to even if you have a lesson teacher, a private lesson teacher, or you take your child or your children to whatever kind of lesson you take them to. It's not enough. The impact of parental the impact of parents in the life of a child is so important. It is so key. It is so important. You have to sit down with them. The teacher will do what they can. The lesson teacher as well will do what they can. But this is your child. You have to be intentional about it. You need to sit down and learn with that child. You need to sit down, look at what that child is doing. What do we need to work on? What are the areas? Where are the areas where you're struggling? Okay, we need to be able to sit down together and do this. I've also said make learning an activity your child loves. And so learning honestly is 100 times harder when it is seen as a chore. Maths at school, had I remember so many of us when we were in school had this mental block about maths, okay, because there's been a lot of, oh, it's hard, it's this, it's that. You haven't even tried it anyways, but you just have this mental block that maths is just so difficult. But research has also proven that a good mood makes you smarter. It makes you more engaged. It makes you more creative. It makes you more willing to persist a difficult task. So if you can encourage your child or your children, then the rest is easy. The rest is easier. Okay. It's very key. The key is to set out with a positive mindset that is pre-programmed to succeed. And that's the key. And the next one here is being a role model. To be a role model. I said here, today I actually I had a chat with someone, a family friend of ours, and he said something to me. He said what he's been doing with his son is when he sits down, when he's studying or doing his work, he makes sure his son is seated with him as well and he's studying. The children need to see you study. They need to see you working. They need to see you reading. Okay, you can't just sit down and be watching movie and just ask them, oh, you just go and read. Yes, we need our me time, we need that time, but they also need to see that, look, mommy also is studying, daddy also is studying, they are working. Even if you're not studying, they need to be able to see that you are working, you are doing something. We need to be role models to our children. And then the next one here is, I said, make academic subjects feel relevant. Most times, children find it difficult to see how relevant, and this is how it is in primary school. A lot of the children, most times, they can't really, put it together. They find it difficult. They struggle to see how relevant the subjects are to life. Okay, so they struggle so much to focus. But you can make learning quite relevant to them. You can make their subjects very relevant to them. For example, when you're traveling, you could say to them, you could show them maps. That's geography. Okay. When you're counting money, get them involved. Oh, I'm counting coins. Oh, this is what it means. This is it. Talk about division with them when you're sharing. That's maths. Talk about colors to them. Okay, talk about colors to them. Be intentional about learning. Be intentional about teaching. You can dip into biology when, maybe a child bumps their head or something. You can dip into biology. You can dip into chemistry when you're even baking, when you're mixing all your colors and things like that. You can dip into chemistry. So there are so many ways we can make, academic subjects very interesting for our children. I've also put in here, I said, motivate them by consequence rather than punishment. It's important for us to, we have all done it, okay? Use threat, sometimes you use threats, of taking things away from our children just to motivate them. These are things that we can use. You don't just leave a child. I know a few people who, once the children come back from school, all they do is just they pick their iPad and they're on their iPad 247. 247. They do not know what the children are doing on the iPad. They do not know what the children are doing on the laptop or the computer. They do not have a clue at all. Okay, but it's convenient for parents. And why is it convenient for parents? Because you know what? Hey, the child is not disturbing you. But then at the end of the day, it has an adverse effect on the child or on the children. Okay, we need to be able to, collect to be able to withdraw, not collect now, withdraw, some of these devices from them. Sometimes I say to mine, okay, during the weekdays, you're not allowed on social device, you're not allowed on this, you're not allowed on that, okay, because you need to do the things that you need to do. Okay, it's not going to kill them, it's not going to hurt them at all. It's part of life, and they need to be able to understand that. They need to understand that. Children need to understand that the outcomes are determined by their actions. You can nurture a strong sense of motivation, which they can take with them right through education and beyond. Okay, so motivation by consequence also helps the children to learn self-control. It helps them to build self-esteem. It helps them to set good examples of effective ways of solving problems. I've also put it there, I said, talk about school. When you pick up your children from school, most times the children are usually eager to talk about school. Okay, they want to talk about what has happened in school. Listen to them when they talk. Ask questions, offer positive feedbacks. Your child is trying to process the information and experiences they've had during the school day. So they will want to talk about the day. Don't just ignore them, okay? No matter how tired you are, I know it is a whole lot. Honestly, it's a whole lot for parents, okay? But it is something that we have to do. And I'd really like to say here that if you're able to if you can actually be a little bit intentional, okay, and create that time when they are below 10, honestly, it's a lot easier when they are teenagers, when they get into secondary school, because at that time, by the time they get into secondary school, they would have developed that independence. They would have developed that, natural um urge to just go pick their books and do the things that. So what you're also doing is you're teaching them to be responsible. You're teaching them to be able to take responsibility for the things that they need to do. I've also put here positive assurance. We need to be able to speak positive words to our children. We need to be able to continue to encourage them. We need to be able to talk to them. Look, you're gonna do well. This is who you are. Speak positive words to them every day. When they're going out, you tell them, oh, look, this is who you are. You are this, you are a doctor, you are a this, you are a that. Speak those words to them. Let them have that positive mindset. And I know that God Himself would help all of us in Jesus' name. So it's important for us to spend time with our children, be intentional, positive assurance, communicate with the teachers, communicate with the school as much as you can. Talk to your children's teachers. Ask them questions. Don't be shy about it. Okay, if your child is struggling, ask them questions, ask your children questions, sit down. Sometimes you can go online yourself, and research. Okay, we need to create that time. It's very important. 1 hour every day, I always recommend, is not too much for a child. Some children do 2 hours, 3 hours. You need to know where you're going to. What is your target? What are you headed for? What are you looking for? What do you want? If you want your child to go into a grammar school, I'd like to say it here. If you want your child to go into grammar school or independent school, you do not start when they're in year 5 or year 6. You start from when they are in year 2. You catch them young. You begin to build them. You begin to train them for that purpose when they're at that age. Thank you very much. If you have questions, you can send it in. And yeah. Lafunki?
Thank you so much, Sister Fumi. Let's see the chat section. Let's see sort of the things people have put there. I agree with you. I don't sugarcoat with my children. I tell them to be responsible for their learning and take responsibility. Realistic expectation, every day count. Thank you so much, Mrs. Fumi Adeyemi. Wow, I learned a lot. Thank you, Auntie Temi said. Okay, I just saw that Sister Fumi can know that you've actually learned and gained from what she said. Can we just write down at least one phrase that we're taking away from what Sister Fumi has said, Mrs. Fumi Adeyemi? Can I please get people to start putting one thing that you're taking away? I know we've learned routine. Okay, can we please keep it coming? Let us know one thing that you're taking away. If you've taken more than 1 point, please write it down now. Can we have it? Can we have the comment coming? Let Mrs. Adeyemi know what you're taking away from my session. Okay, I'm waiting. Spend time, motivate 1 hour a day. Keep it coming. What are you taking away from what she has taught us tonight? Intentionally being involved. Keep it coming. I'll be reading your comment. That's from Ola, intentionally being involved. In fact, Mrs. Adeyemi kept repeating the word intentional. Stepping Stone said, catch them young. Some of us came to England when the kids are in year 5 and still wish for them to attend grammar school. What can be done? She will answer you. Getting them ready for independent school from year 2. Ask the school teachers as many questions as necessary. Intentionally being involved. catch them young, set a routine they can adhere and grow up with. Teach the children to be responsible for themselves. Don't overpraise. Be a role model to the Mrs. Adeyemi. People have really picked up a lot of points here. Don't overpraise. Be a role model to them and motivate them. Spend time with them. Great session, Mrs. Adeyemi. Fantastic presentation. I have learned you need to be involved in the learning process of the child. Failure is a stepping stone. Don't overpraise was a good one. Spend time and be intentional with your children. I need to reduce time spent on iPads. Tell them about your experiences. Wow. Look at all those learning points. I wanted to pick up on the point you mentioned about the what's it called? The use of iPads. One thing that we are finding in the job I do is that, and that people from school also complain. We've noticed, because we tend to be involved, the job I do, the social work job I do, we tend to go into the home. So we see some children, like you said, moment from coming back from school is iPad or their game console, all the way till they have their tea, their dinner, and it's bedtime. And we've noticed that, and then the teachers, the people, the staff at school, they'll be complaining that, oh, this child struggles to concentrate. And then people are already thinking of diagnoses, like medical diagnosis, but it's not the medical diagnosis. They're like, oh, this child struggles to concentrate. Within 5-10 minutes, they're already struggling. That's because in terms of the home, all the child has been doing using gadgets. There's no time to start building their concentration from reading books, from doing other things that is beyond screen. Okay, let me read more comments. Communicate with their teachers on their progress. Speak to their teachers. If they're going to go to private school, start when they are very young so that they can adapt, get involved with their teachers, motivate them with consequences and not punishment. Okay, I think we have a question. If it's okay for Mrs. Adeyemi to answer. Okay, I don't want us to forget the question. Okay. I think the question was from Tola.
Yeah, someone said, she said, so they moved in when their when their child was in year 4,
Yeah, I'm trying to.
and they want their child to go to grammar school. Of course, that's understandable. If you want your child to go to grammar school, even though you've come in at year 4, the point here is you can't leave it all to school. Okay, you can't leave the whole work to the school teacher, because like I said before, the school does not prepare children for 11 plus exams. They don't do that. So apart from the fact that your children go to lessons where because there are lessons where what they do is to prepare children for the grammar school exams. Okay, so apart from that, even at home, you also need to do a whole lot with them. Buy books. Okay, buy books. Go online. Go online to buy books. Go online, you can go online, buy books. You can go on YouTube. You can research and things like that. Even when you ask your school, because I remember when I wanted my first child, then I remember when I wanted him to go into grammar school then, and I really didn't know too much at that time. So I went to the school and I asked, and I told the head teacher, I said, oh, look, this is what I want for my child. This is what I want for him. And I don't know how to go about it. And, the head teacher spoke to me and told me, these are the things that you need to do, even though they don't prepare them for it. She gave me a lot of tips. Okay. She gave me tips as to what to do, how to go about it and all. And it was really helpful. Okay. So if you want your children to go to the grammar schools, if you want them to go to independent schools or whatever it is that even if they don't even go to these schools, the bottom line here is you as a parent need to be doing something extra with your child at home. It's very, very important, because honestly, it gives them an edge in school. That I can say comfortably. It puts them in a better place in school. Okay. If your child is already in year 4, even though I have said, oh, you have to start from year 2 and all, if it's not too late, to be honest, year 4 is not too late to prepare your child for grammar school. Your child still has the whole of year 4, the whole of year 5 as well. So it's never too late. It's not too late. And really, if you're coming from Nigeria, I can tell you, you even have a better chance. And the only difference is, our the methodology here is probably a little different. But you see, when it comes to the exams, we from Nigeria, they have the shortcuts of, hitting the answers and all. And that's what you need in your exam. Time management. That's how we take them. We teach them both, the basics, how, to get the answers. And we also teach them the shortcuts to the answers as well, because you're not going to go to, for example, if you have a question like, oh, change so number to fraction or to decimal. Okay, the child needs to know, oh, if I am dividing 3 by 10 and I want to change it to, if I'm dividing 3 by 10, all I need to do is move my 0. That's it. You're not going to start drawing the place chart value during your exam. So the child needs to know both ways. So if your child is in year 4 or in year 3 or in year 5 and you're just moving, it's never too late. I think I mentioned that in one of my slides, that it's never too late to start. The point is start.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Adeyemi. We have another question by family. Does anybody else have any contribution to that? Does anybody have any contribution to that in terms of what if let's say I have a question, let's say the parent then they prepare, because some parents will be quite anxious that at the age like year 4 that maybe my child will not even get the grades, and then they start tutoring. I know you run a tutoring, you have your own tutoring company. Should there be an expectation from the tutoring sort of company to say, okay, I'm going to enroll my child in a tutoring to prepare them for that grammar school? Because you've been talking about parents role now, who will take that sort of role? Would it be the tutoring?
The tutors cannot take responsibility for what you do with your child. Okay, they can't perform magic. Do you understand? They need to do what they need to do to prepare your child for the process. But we also need to remember that it's what's that word now? It's a collective effort. Yes, that was what I was going to say. It's a collective effort. So the teachers are doing theirs, the tutors are doing theirs, the parents are doing theirs as well. Okay, so you cannot just put it all on the tutor and say, oh, do you know what? Because my child is going to this to this tutoring school, it is automatic that, oh, my child just yes, your child would have all that he needs, okay, to get there. Your child, the tutoring class can equip your child, can support you to equip your child in attaining those grades. But the tutoring school cannot perform magic. And that's the thing. They can't perform magic.
Okay, thank you so much. We have 2 questions, which I think will be good for us to answer. My child is, I'm going to start with, we have 3 questions, which we'll cover now before we move to the next segment. What is the main difference between the private, the regular, and grammar school in terms of the quality of education?
So for the state schools, okay, the state schools are free. They're funded by the government, okay, and then the independent schools are privately funded. So they also have regulations, government regulations, but they are not, solely regulated by the government. Okay, so they have more access to funds because it's private, isn't it? It's private, so they have more access to funds. They have more, their curriculum is wider as well. Their curriculum is wider than the state school. The grammar school as well has a wide curriculum, but it is partially state funded. I think so. Temi, am I right in saying that?
Yes, so grammar schools are more like state schools.
Yes, they're more like state schools.
The entrance exams that makes them different.
Yes, so it's just the entrance exam that makes them, and then their standard as well is definitely higher than that of the state school. Definitely, it's higher than that of the state school, and the grammar school as well. I would say if you compare a grammar school to an independent school, the standards as well are about the same. The only difference is, those ones also, the independent school have maybe more access to funds, curriculum, and things like that. That's probably the difference, and maybe the kind of people they also relate with and all. So
thank you for that. Just Tammy, do you want to say anything to add to that in terms of the difference in the quality of education?
Yes.
Yeah, so I've just added that private schools would have smaller class sizes.
Yes.
I can only speak from a state school perspective. So I think state schools are not as funded as much. So sometimes for that reason, in terms of league tables, the results may not be as good. But in terms of the quality of teaching, I'd say it's the same. The teachers are trained in the same way as grammar schools, state schools. I've had colleagues switch between. So in that sense, the quality of education, whether your child goes to a state school or grammar school, and this is where I support what Auntie Fumi has said, it depends on parental input and how much work you do with them outside of the school. Because you could go to the best school on paper and still not access the best results because you're not having that additional input from the home.
Exactly.
That's true. That's a good point. So even if you went to a state school
Or
and
independent school,
private or a grammar, if there's no that input from the home, the outcome may still be similar. Okay, that's it. Thank you for that. We're gonna go to the next question. Okay, it says, my child is 4 years, still in nursery, attend nursery twice a week, full day. Do you think that's enough, or we have some more days to spend more time in school? So this child is 4, will be going to reception maybe in September. This child goes twice a week. So the parent is now asking, should I increase the days? Would that help more, or is the 2 days, are they enough?
That's a very tricky question, to be honest, but I think it's up to you as a parent, really, at the end of the day. That's where I'll come from. It's up to you. I can't, as a teacher, determine the number of days you want your child to spend in school. But, you look at it. Do you think, your child being at home, okay, is quite effective? What are you doing with that child at home? Why can't that child be in school? The child is going to learn more. The child is going to learn social skills. If nothing, the child is going to learn social skills. Okay. When the child is at home with you, what are you doing with that child at home? Are you actually spending time with that child? Consciously spending time with that child? Or you have just left the child on the laptop or TV? Okay. And that's why, sometimes you might not even recognize when your child cannot speak, because the child is just there constantly. It's from TV to food, back to TV, and then sleep. So you're not communicating with that child. But you're quite sure that if your child is in school, the teachers are going to be talking to the child. The child's classmates are going to be pinching him. He's going to speak. Okay. They're going to be hitting him. He's going to speak. Okay. So, and he's going to be learning. At that age, they learn through play. They learn through play. They pick lots of things. So so it's up to you as a parent to weigh, your options. Look at it. What value am I giving to my child? Is my child actually, gaining more value being at home, spending more time at home with me, or, going to school? Whether we like it or not, the child has to go to school anyways.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Adeyemi. And to add to that, like Sister Fumi said, it's really up to you as a parent. I can give a personal example. My child goes into nursery 3 days a week. No, well, one of my children goes in 4 days a week. And the one day is due to the fact that I do a number of activities with her, both indoor and outdoor, okay? And like Sister Fumi said, it's good to be creative. Whatever you're doing, link it back to their learning. And sometimes she goes 3 days. It's all about you just incorporating learning opportunities. So we can't make that decision for you, like Sister Fumi said. Okay, the next question, I'm sure other parents will be so keen to want this information. You'll be an educationist and also owning a tutoring company, okay? Please, can you suggest resources and websites for learning materials? My son is in year 3. So maybe something that Sister Fumi can put some links there, I don't know, or...
I have responded to that.
Okay, thank you.
I've responded to that. So I know bond books are very good. CGP goods, CGP books are quite good as well, and there are quite a lot of resources out there, to be honest.
Okay,
But I just leave my number anyways. If you need to call me, it's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Somebody else asked a question privately. My daughter is in reception. Any suggestion or resources that can help her?
Okay. So like I said, Bond, Twinkle. You can go to Twinkle. You can go to IXL as well. You can go to
Is this something that we're able to type in case people don't know?
Yes, I'll send it. I'll send it in. I'll send it now.
Thank you. In case people don't know how to spell it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else you'd like to add at this point, Mrs. Adeyemi?
No.
Okay,
I
thank
think
you
I have
so
spoken a
much.
lot.
Thank you. But people have gained so many things. You could see from the chat section. Thank you so much, Mrs. Adeyemi. Very, very insightful. Thank you. Thank you. Now we're going to move on to somebody saying there that they've been inspired. Oh, that's so lovely to hear. Okay, we're going to, please, if you have any contribution, please use the chat section. Ask your question. Mrs. Adeyemi will be reading through the chat section as we go as well. Okay, so I'm going to introduce the second speaker. Okay, the second speaker is Mrs. Tokpe Akinbote. Obviously our name is showing as a maiden, just in case you notice, but it's the same person. She's a secondary school teacher. She's head of year 12 and she's head of sociology. Okay, all right, so I'm going to introduce that now. She's going to be, she works in secondary school and she has been through the system, I believe, in terms of secondary school. So if you have any question around that, I'm sure she'll be happy to answer your question. Over to you, Mrs. Akinbote. Please, yes, use the chat section to welcome her, to say, welcome, Mrs. Akinbote.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Sister Lafunki, for putting this together. Thank you, Auntie Fumi, for inspiring me and for just teaching me so much that I didn't know about the primary education. Thank you so much. I'd like to also say thank you to everyone who has come and given up their time. Without further ado, as Lafunki has said, I am a head of year in sixth form and a head of department. I'm head of sociology. I have been teaching for just over 10 years now. I thoroughly enjoy my job. I can't see myself leaving anytime soon. I enjoy interacting with the students, with colleagues. I've had a number of roles. I've been curriculum leader for humanities, covering geography, history, religious studies and other subjects. I've been head of psychology, but I definitely found my niche when I became a head of year. And for that reason, I've stepped aside into the pastoral, what we call the pastoral. So my job mostly revolves around looking after the academic and pastoral aspects of a year group. I look after 100 year 12 students, as well as leading on sociology at Key Stage 4, which is GCSE, and Key Stage 5, which is sixth form. I've divided my session into two. My aim would be in the first session to talk about to those parents with children approaching GCSEs, what to expect before and during, and then the same for parents with students approaching sixth form or college, what to expect before and during. If you have any questions, just drop it in the chat. So GCSE stands for General Certificates Secondary Education. Auntie Fumi spoke about this when she was talking about preparing your children, and she's right, all of these things do play a role from very early on. Depending on your child's school, you may be called in for options evening. Some schools have introduced a 3-year GCSE like mine, where students start to make their choices from year 8. So this is really important because from year 7, although they would have just settled in, you're already thinking about, wow, what would they pick for GCSE? Some schools have this in year 10. The majority of schools still have this in year 10, to be fair. Some questions. So GCSEs, depending on the school, English, maths and science is always compulsory, but depending on the school, your child may be given an option to pick 4 subjects or 2 subjects or 3, depends on the staffing, the type of school, whether it's an academy, state community. There are so many schools now, and it all could depend on the head teacher, structure, staff allocations, etc. Like Auntie said earlier, students would, a good set of GCSEs would be 5 or more passes. So to be honest, as long as they have 5, that's what matters. Now, popular question that comes up a lot, which subject should my child pick? And the answer to that is, please encourage your children to pick something they enjoy and they think they'll do well in. GCSE subjects and results, apart from the compulsory English, maths and science, do not determine success beyond GCSE. So, for example, if they picked psychology or sociology or history, it wouldn't really matter. If they want to do history at university, for example, an A-level in history would be good enough. They won't really check the actual subjects at GCSEs. What is more important is the result at GCSE. So you're better off encouraging your children to do a subject that they will excel at rather than one that they think would help them get the job they want. And the reason I want to emphasize this is because children change, as we know. A student in year 8 may think they want to be a doctor, an engineer. By the time they get to year 10, they might want to be a beauty therapist. By the time they get to year 12, they may want to be a paramedic. They will change. So it's best to just go with their strengths, and hopefully, and by the grace of God, their strengths will lead them to where they need to be. For example, I have a boy who joined my sixth form in the beginning of year 12. He was very adamant he wanted to be a paramedic. I'm now supervising him with his extended project essay, and he has now changed his mind. He now wants to go into the arts. I'm sure this may change again over the next year. How are GCSEs graded? I thought I'd just show this table because some of you may or may not be aware that things have changed. So under the old system, we had A star to C, which were passes. We've now converted to numbers. So the 9 is the new one that kind of, as you can see, stands out. And it was introduced because a lot of students were getting A stars, which is good, but they needed something to kind of really, really separate the, let's say, outstanding results from the above average. So the 9 is the top now and 1 is the lowest. 5 to 4, or 5 or 4 is still, there's still a bit of uncertainty of which one is a C. So I would say it's safer to just tell your child to aim for 5 minimum, because it could be that in 10 years, a 5 is what is equivalent to a C and not a 4. But as it stands, a 4 or above is a pass. And generally speaking, students are encouraged to get 5 or more grades at 4 or above. Maths and science and English, especially if they want to study them at A level, they're encouraged to get 6s, 5, 6s, etc. Even 7, 7 to 9. Work experience is usually carried out in year 10. This is done virtually now because of COVID. And like Auntie was saying, this is something that's usually organized by the school, but it's not always. And this is where, as parents, you can make a big, big, big difference to your child's education. If you have family members, friends in different fields, please, please encourage your children to contact them. Please contact them for them. Organize work experience that they can carry out virtually. Giving up some time in the holidays also instills a level of discipline. These things are very important and will really, really encourage your children to stand out when they do progress. And I'll talk more about that later. I've spoken about that already. GCSEs happen really quickly, and where it gets a little bit complicated and requires a lot of hard work is year 11. So as your children will be preparing for their final exams, they will also be looking to apply for sixth form or college. Sixth forms tend to be attached to schools. They're 16 to 19-year-olds. Colleges tend to be 16 plus without a cap for age. But the open evenings tend to take place in October or November of that year. And you'll see adverts on buses. You will see speakers coming into different schools. We'll go around to local schools without a sixth form. We'll try and really market our sixth form and really try and attract students. It's important that your children go around, and if you can with them, to really find out which sixth form or college would suit your child. It will be different for every child. It depends on their interests. It depends on the grades they're averaging. You have to be very realistic with the situation at hand as well, and then just have an idea of what's available and then support your children in that way. Interviews will take place in January and February, usually in most sixth forms, and offers will be made after then. After your child has finished their GCSEs, which is usually May or June. This year, I think it's a bit later because of COVID. They'll have longer in the summer. This is a very good opportunity for them to do what we call transition tasks. Most sixth forms will set this. So please ask your children. It could be they're asked to do a project. It could be they're asked to do reading. For example, in my subjects, I could give them a reading pack with separate tasks. It could be to read, to watch the news, to watch read different articles, and to answer some questions that will then be used to form the basis of the assessment when they join in year 12. So this is very, very important that they use this summer very, very well. You will also see, as I'll talk later on, that the transition or the year spent in sixth form isn't actually 2 full years. So the window goes really, really quickly. It's very vital that you get it right from the beginning. Summer is also another opportunity to gain work experience before they start sixth form. Results day would be in August. think this year it's the 13th or 15th, I can't remember. The procedure usually would be collect your results, then physically go to the sixth form or college and present your results and confirm your place. Places cannot be confirmed without students physically going to confirm their place, even if it's the sixth form that is attached to their school. It's very vital that this happens. We never know as sixth form team how many students we'll get. So it's usually a first come, first served. And every school has a limit of how many students they can take on. It depends on funding. So for example, we're capped now at 200. Before, I think it was 100. It depends on staffing. There's so much that goes on in the background that you may not be aware of if you're not in the environment. So just encourage your students to definitely secure their place. As of 2016, education was made compulsory until the age of 18. So before that, students could leave at 16 and get a job and not be in any form of education. This has now changed. They don't have to be in a sixth form or college, but they have to be in some form of education. They can be in an apprenticeship tied to an educational base, such as hairdressing, plumbing, etc. Again, you know your children. What we're discovering and learning more and more is university is not for everyone. And I'll talk about that later on as well. And that's fine. And there are lots of different pathways to success, just like we can take different roads and different routes to our destinations. If I'm going too fast, please let me know. I do talk really quickly. So at sixth form or college, these are the three that I'm familiar with. A level, most of you would know, which is advanced level. This is the more academic route. Most people will do 3 A levels, even to get into Oxford or Cambridge. 3 A levels is what is needed, what is necessary. To get into the 3 A levels, you would need generally 5s and above, but I'll be honest, 6s and above would mean that you can access the course a bit better. 5s, you may be better suited for BTECs, as you may struggle with the A level. BTECs are not a, let's say, poorer route or a route for people that aren't as smart. It's just an alternative route that suits different kind of learning styles. So it's very important that the decision you make now or at the beginning of year 12 is one that has been informed, so that your 2 years is very well spent. The grading at A level is A star to E. After E, it's U, which is unclassified or ungraded. A star, again, was introduced in 2016, just like the level 9 was introduced, and it's very, very hard to get an A star. So this differentiates the outstanding grades from the very good grades. Another alternative is the International Baccalaureate. I've taught both A-level and IB before. IB is used a lot in grammar schools. Some grammar schools, I know in Kent especially, because I'm from London, just offer the IB and not the A-level. Some people say, what's the difference? What should I do? I would suggest that if you're a student or if your child is someone who's really good at, I don't know, they've got 8s and 9s in a lot of subjects and they can't narrow it down to 3 A levels. So they like English, maths and science, and they like French, and they like history, and they really can't narrow it down, then the IB may be for them. They do 6 subjects, 3 at higher level, 3 at standard level, but it is more intense than A level because they also have to do like an essay. It's like some sort of extended writing. They do some work experience. You generally speaking come out as a more well-rounded student, but it doesn't give you more chance of getting into a higher university. You will find that students with 3 A stars at A level, 3 A's, and students with maybe 3 7s at higher and 3 5s at standard can end up at the same place. So again, it really depends on what your child wants to get from sixth form. Are they someone that would get bored with just doing 3 A levels, for example, or would they prefer to do their 6 subjects? And BTECs are also very good. This is more for students who have a more hands-on approach, students who like doing coursework, students who like to get out and do work experience. In my school, we offer the IBCP, which is a combination of the International Baccalaureate, but only standard level, and BTECs. And these students get out with their health and social care. They get to actually get lots of work experience and have really got good offers for university as well, which I'll speak about in a moment. So it's very important that you see where your children tend to fit and where they can excel. Distinction star, distinction star, distinction at BTEC is better than DDD at A level, for example. much better. I'd say it's even better than CCC at A level. And we're seeing that more and more with our students on results day and the kind of offers they're getting. Courses like medicine, veterinary science, dentistry, you can't get onto with BTECs. It would only be A levels and IBs. But there are the majority of other courses you can still get onto regardless of your route. I think I've answered that. Mentioned that. So first year of sixth form. So if you have a child that's finishing year 11 now, what should they expect in September? So like I said, please spend summer. If the school hasn't given them work, which they should, if they haven't, please, again, like Auntie Fumi was saying, communicate with the sixth form. Email them, email the head. Ask what can your child do to get ready for year 12. The first few weeks is what we call settling in. And this is the time for students to kind of have what we call extended tasters. So again, depending on the school, there'll be chance for movement around end of September where they can say, I haven't enjoyed history anymore. Can I change to English? And we see that quite a lot, but definitely confirm with the school. It's usually 2 or 3 week window. End of year exams tend to take place from April onwards. So as you can see, this is a very, very short year because by the time they come in September, it's already December and then you're preparing for end of year exams. And something I'd like to stress during this live, I always say to my students, year 12 is more important than year 13. I'll say that again, year 12 is more important than year 13. The reason being, UCAS applications are made from the end of year 12. If you're applying for medicine or any of those courses, you're sending it by usually October 15th of year 13. So that's, you've only been in a sixth form a year and you're already sending off your medicine application or your application to do nursing or whatever course you want to do. And this application, the grades that you'll put on the application will be based on your performance in year 12, only based on what your teachers have seen. And I always stress to students, this is why you have to try your best. So if you're averaging Ds in year 12, but then you say, but miss, I know, I've got it in me. If the teacher hasn't seen it, they are unable to predict you A star, A star, A star. And it's not that we don't take into consideration things that happen. Of course, sometimes you may get an A, you may get distinction, it may drop to a pass, but generally speaking, there'll be a trend. And if your trend is Ds or just E's, or you don't even do assessments, you don't show the right kind of attitude, and you in your heart know that you will change in year 13, because we haven't seen it, it's by that point too late. So year 12 is vital. I must stress that. I will be asking my staff, as head of year 12, I'll be asking my staff in June to start their predictions. And they'll be making predictions of students. I'll be doing it as well because I teach, and I'll be basing it purely on how they've performed. And I think I wanted to, data is used to inform teacher predictions. If your child is going for medicine or any of those courses, their application needs to be tidied and ready to send in October, which means they must be preparing it from June and July. So that's very, very, very early. Everyone else is usually by January. Just to explain the difference between target and predicted. In this country, we have usually something called minimum target grades. These are prepared by the government. Different systems. In my school, we use something called ALPS. And ALPS is used to, it takes an average of the GCSEs and comes up with a minimum target. This shouldn't put students off at all, because it could be that students got very average GCSEs, like 5s, but then found their niche. I've had lots of students who have suddenly found the subjects they enjoy at A level or BTEC level, and then suddenly are getting A stars and distinctions. The teacher, just to reassure you, teacher's prediction will be based on how the students are working and not their target grade. So if they have low target grades of like Ds or Cs, that won't automatically be transferred to UCAS just because it's their target grade. That's just a grade that we kind of say to students, this is what you should aim for at the very minimum. But it's usually to guide our data tracking so we know if students are on track. Work experience, again, is usually held at the end of year 12. So this was introduced in the last, I think, 10 years. Before that, it was just year 10. But year 12 is kind of better for students to do work experience because they're older. So they hopefully have more of an idea of what they enjoy. Again, as parents, we encourage you to find links to organize work experience. It doesn't have to be through the school, but it usually takes place within the 2-week period at the end of June, and someone would usually visit them. But if they don't offer it in a school, please, please, please just go online and you can find one that you could do as well. Year 13 is where we're kind of cementing everything now. So fast forward to September, all of the tutorials, because in sixth form, they still have the same structure as secondary school. So like tutor time, etc. During the tutor times, they'll be talking about what pathway they're hoping to pick. Degree apprenticeships are becoming more common as well. Entry for this is usually 5 or more GCSEs and a level 3 qualification. Again, A-level or BTEC or IB, etc. It depends on the employers. We've had a student who got accepted for a HR degree apprenticeship. Her mum was well informed about education. I think she had 2 children. The first one was trial and error. So the first child did A-levels but didn't do really, really well, and then repeated and did BTEC. So I think going forward, she then knew, okay, with the second child, she's not strong enough at A-levels. So from the beginning, she put her onto a BTEC, and then she's doing really well on a degree apprenticeship in HR. So she's someone that learns face better hands-on. There's a link there for more information if you'd like to take a screenshot or a picture. University, most people will go through, well, everyone will go through UCAS, and that's what it stands for. I'll go back just in case you're taking a picture. Okay. So like I said, yeah, the entry deadline is very early. Again, if you're going for medicine or dentistry, etc., you will also have to do something called a BMAT exam. I'll be honest, courses like medicine and dentistry are super, super, super competitive, ridiculously competitive. Students sometimes get straight 9s, straight A stars, and they still do not get an offer, and they pass the BMAT. And sometimes it's all that's missing is the work experience. I'm also in a number of Facebook groups where I share good practice with colleagues and we help each other. And the thing that comes up a lot, even up until yesterday, is work experience. In that situation, they can be encouraged to study biomedical science and then transfer, hopefully, after a year or a few years. Or some students decide to take a gap year, and in that year, they just get work experience. And work experience doesn't have to be in a hospital. We've seen students work in a primary school and then add that in to the application because it just shows good communication, confidence, working with people. It's just somewhere where the skills can be transferable. That's what's mostly important. But like Auntie Fumi was saying, the work for things like medicine, dentistry do not start in year 11. They start from year 7. They start with, especially if your child is interested. It happens, but very rarely. We do get sometimes students who from year 7, they know. Like one of my really good friends knew from the age of 7 she wanted to be a doctor, and she is a doctor now. And she had that support, she had tutoring, she knew about exams before, she knew about the importance of GCSEs. So if you can embed this from a very young age, that's very, very, very important. The final deadline for UCAS applications is January of year 13. January of year 13. The earlier your children send the applications off, though, the better. Some unis do a first come, first serve. Some wait for all the applications. If they're ready, just send it off. So I'd say the summer of year 12 is the time for you to make sure they've secured the application, because at this point, remember, they're still revising for exams. So year 13 will be a very stressful year for your children. They'll literally be going to school, coming home, UCAS application, revising for exam, UCAS application, revising for exam. So it's, again, important to just remind them that their hard work will pay off, support them emotionally as well, because it can get very, very stressful. And we do tend to see a lot of mental health conditions or episodes arising as well. So just to be there for them. And yes, applying for realistic courses, I can't stress this enough. If the student's prediction, and this is where communication with school is very important, I think it's not always emphasized in all schools, but I try my best at the end of year 12 to tell students to physically go around. I create a slip for them and say, go and find each of your teachers and find out exactly what you've been predicted. So there's no surprises, because there's nothing worse than a student thinking they've been predicted A star, A star, A star, then they've wasted 5, you get 5 applications for UCAS, 5 choices, sorry. There's nothing worse than then wasting the 5 choices on A star, A star, A star, when your predictions are actually B, 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 for example. And most predictions are very valuable. Most predictions are respected. It's just for the student to know where they stand so that they can make informed choices. So I've given an example here. If your predictions are ABC or D star, distinction merit, choice 1 should be optimistic, so like AAB, and choice 2 should be optimistic, realistic. So you're still hoping for a good result, but you're being realistic and understanding that it could go either way. And it's not about being pessimistic, it's just about being realistic. You know how hard you've worked, you know the effort you've put in, and you know that the result you'd get will reflect, in most cases, how much work you have put in. And that's why the work must start at the end of year 11, and if possible, even lower down. Just going to show you some examples. So I've got some examples of students in my school who have been accepted into social work, nursing, occupational therapy, and they have taken the BTEC route. And a lot of people, I think sometimes there's still a stigma about BTECs, but they are not bad subjects. They're just an alternative route. One of my husband's friends did a BTEC in engineering. He's now a doctor of engineering in Canada. Again, it's just an alternative route. It depends on how much the children can show that they've really accessed and understood and taken away from the course, rather than just doing something because everyone does it, for example. So this is an example, mechanical engineering at Brunel. I just use this as an example because I went to Brunel. You can see that there are different routes. So you could get in with A-levels or BTEC. And it's just about, I'd encourage parents to go through the UCAS system with their children before they even get into year 12, so that when they start to have career sessions in school, it's not something that's new to them. They're aware of it and oh yeah, I've seen UCAS. Oh, my mum or my dad talked about that, so I know what that's about, and they've already got that their foot in the door. The same with midwifery. I think that's my next example. You can see you can get in through A-levels, BTECs, and even access to education. And I know a lot of adults may have taken that route as well. So sometimes it's about looking at the end goal and working backwards, especially if your child is 100% sure. They may change, but by year 11, 12, they may know that, okay, yeah, I definitely want to be a social worker, or I want to be a mechanical engineer or teacher, or whatever they want to be, and to just go onto UCAS and have a play around with that. And fast forward to results day in August, year 13. Usually universities will update students via email, I think, or they have like a portal they use. So you'll usually know before you even come into school if you've got your place at uni. You might not know your grade, you won't know the grade, but you will know if you've got a place or not. Scenario 1, you're happy with first or second place, you come into school, you get your results, you celebrate, you hug your parents, you go and eat, etc. And then you just communicate with the uni and sort out your accommodation, etc. if relevant. Scenario 2, you're not happy with the results. You may have to go through what we call clearing. And this is where the universities, you're on a phone to someone and they tell you what has come up. So if there are any new courses that may be more suitable for you based on your results, or maybe the same university but a different course, or the same course at a different uni. And it's important to take your time with the clearing process. No rush decisions need to be made. You may go home and decide, actually, I want to speak with my parents to really, really work out what route I want to take. So these are the different procedures. There's a new feature called adjustment. You may want to get that down. You could do more research. This was added about a year or two ago. So it's like clearing, but it can be for you've decided actually you want to get a better place or a better course because you're happy with your results. So that's worth exploring as well. But in summary, I'd say it starts very early, like Antofumi said, and also please remind your students the one thing, if anything you take away, year 12 is more important than year 13 because this is where predictions are made and this is what will determine offers for post 16. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Sister Tammy. Thank you. So how do we end the screen? Okay,
done it.
Hold on. Just go back to the screen. I'm sure we have a couple of questions for us to sort of answer.
Yeah, I'm just having a look.
Okay.
CJ, do GCSEs determine what A-level subjects the student is able to enroll onto? Yes, so the rule of thumb is usually 5 or more GCSEs at a pass, so 5 or above. If they want to study A-level history, I know historians will ask for a 6 in history, preferably, or maybe even a 6 in a humanities-related subject. Subjects like psychology, sociology are not usually offered at GCSE, so we'll just ask for a 6 in humanities. We'll ask for a 5 in maths and a 5 in biology because of the scientific aspect or scientific nature of psychology. To do maths is a popular A-level, and sometimes we find parents aren't happy, but your children will do well if they get a 7 at GCSE. If they get a 6, they may struggle, if I'm being very honest. They may struggle with A-level. They may need additional tutoring outside. But what you'll find is they'll be in a class with children that have achieved 9s. So the pace will be very fast at A-level. And we very regularly find that students will, for maths, I'd say maths, physics, chemistry, biology, those are the ones where 7 and above are recommended, regardless of what the schools say. So I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to say something actually. If a child hasn't passed GCSE maths, they've gotten like a 3, they won't be able to do A levels. So it can't influence in that regard. You get what I mean?
Yeah, no, you're right. And thank you for, I forgot to add this. Actually, GCSE English and Maths, if they don't pass, no matter what course they do at sixth form, they will automatically be enrolled on what we call GCSE resit. So they'll have to go to additional class. So if they're doing BTEC, they'll have to, I think they timetable it in for like an extra 2 hours, but they'll do it every year till they pass, because legally we have an obligation to help students pass. So if they don't pass at year 12, they'll be re-enrolled in year 13. So the aim is pass it in year 11, so you don't have to repeat it again in year 12 or 13. But definitely can't do A level without at least a 6 in GCSEs.
Yes. And one thing I wanted to mention that I experienced when I was in secondary was even this choice of sixth form that you want to go, your GCSE grades matter. Because I remember a grammar school near us back then, for you to get into this particular grammar school sixth form, they required, like, I know it's equivalent to 9s and 8s now, like about 6 or 7, let's say 6 or 7 A-star for you to get into this particular grammar school. So even your choice of sixth form, some sixth form don't accept any GCSE grades. I find that from my experience. I don't know if that's still the case now.
Yeah, no, it depends. It depends on the sixth form, and it's unique to the sixth form, to their structure, to the entry requirements. They have the power to create their own entry requirements. Again, trial and error. We've had to adjust our entry requirements. My sixth form is only 8 years old, but we've had to adjust our entry requirements over time, depending on results and just seeing what works really. And of course, with COVID and everything, different things will be taken into consideration.
That's true. Okay, I'm just going to go through the question. Yeah. So truly making a difference, we've put a link there. There is a mechanical engineering apprenticeship going. So it's something, the link has been shared.
Oh, cool.
There.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If people can copy. So the next question says, how about personal statement skills? Because you have to write sort of like a statement.
Yeah, so that's very important as well. The personal statement, your child's school will do a lot of work around that in form time, what we call tutorials. What the universities look at before they look at the personal statement is the grades. So the grades still carry the bulk of the weight. It's very important. Again, things like even medicine, I think I mentioned, before they even look at A levels, they'll look at GCSE. Because they get so many applications, they have to go through it. So the first thing will be GCSEs. And if they're no 9s or 8s, they might not even look at the rest of your application, let alone personal statement. But then personal statement is important. I'd encourage speaking to your child's school. There are a lot of online workshops, things that take place that schools will link them with. I can't think of any generic ones. It will be subject or school specific. But yeah, they'll do a lot of work around that. But sometimes students spend too long on a personal statement and are very scared to send it off. I'd say just encourage them to send it off. Once 2 or 3 people have checked it and they're happy with it and the grades are good, they've done all the work experience, they'll be fine.
Yeah, I like what you just said at the end, where once 2 or 3 people have checked it. Because from my experience, some parents leave it to the child to sort out the statement. And linking back to what Sister Fumi mentioned, the parent's role is involved, because parent may know people in that field,
Definitely.
or a similar field that can also look over the statement. Okay, we've got a private question here saying that what about going to uni in America? Okay, let me read it there. About going to America for uni if you're a student in the UK. Do you know how the transfer, anything about it works? Do they accept UK sort of grades?
Yeah, they do. I think we've got one student that's considering it this year. I don't know the ins and outs of that, I'll be completely honest, but they do. And again, it will depend on the university in question. So if your school has a careers advisor, we have a lady in our school that our students can book one-to-one sessions with, and we strongly encourage that. And that will be the person that will guide them through every step of the way. Okay, are you applying to Harvard, for example? Do they need an entrance exam? What course are you applying for? And that would help them as well.
Okay, I have a question regarding to that, because I think it will be helpful I'm just thinking, do you think the role of being a Black minority sort of impact on this? Because I experienced that growing up a bit in London, that my personal experience of a career advisor wasn't something positive. They were really encouraging me to undertake a career that would challenge me. So if not because my parents had sort of prepared me, they're like, oh, so why do you want to go into teaching? Oh, why do you want to do social work? Oh, and then one of my friends from year 6, she knew that she wanted to study medicine. And our mother discouraged her from mentioning it within the school setting. Yeah, she did. She couldn't mention it because they said, let your work be speaking, because they didn't want any sort of anything that would make them to discourage her, power of words, what we say, self-fulfilling prophecy. So I know you've mentioned the role of what's it called, school career advice. I'm just thinking, is there a bit of equality there? Should we leave everything to the career advisor? I
think it depends. It's a good question. I think it depends on where you live. I'll be honest, with everything happening right now, being ethnic minority in school is in our favor. Schools have league tables, as most of you may know, and schools want to be able to report that a certain percentage of ethnic minorities have gotten into Oxford universities. It's very eye-catching for a parent. My school, for example, is predominantly Black Somalian. I teach in Southeast London, and it's very encouraging. Our head girl is a Nigerian girl. She's passed on to another Nigerian girl. And when other people come and see this, they're quite positive. The student that got into Oxford is a Black girl. So again, these are encouraging, positive stories. So the careers advisor, I'd say it's based on facts. If the grades are there, they will not discourage your child. Where the discouragement may come will be the grades, and that might be misinterpreted as it's because my child is maybe, but the careers advisor will just be based on facts. If they want to do a course that requires 8s and 9s and they've got it, they can't tell them no. And if they do, again, that's where the parents need to step in and need to really know what the requirements are and how their children work.
Okay, thank you. I'm still going to be asking the listener to still tell me about sort of the pain, like the main point they're taking away from Tammy's session. I will still be asking. I've not forgotten, but because there's so many questions and I want to quickly get over it because of time. The next one said, my son is in year 9 and he's not sure what he will study in the uni. How can I guide him? And I like this question is being asked at this time, early on, yeah.
It's very young to know what you want at that's year 9 is only turning 14, so he's either 13 or 14. I would say go with his strengths. If he enjoys PE, let him do PE. If he enjoys science, let him do science. Uni choices will come if they haven't already come. So it's normally courses like medicine, and I'd say like media and things that come very early. For the majority, I'd say 80% of us didn't really know what we wanted to do until we were maybe 17, 18. So you kind of the best thing from my experience would be to go with what you're good at, what you enjoy, and that will lead you to your success. I think sometimes the mistake we can make is by picking courses and kind of pigeonholing our children very early, and then it's too hard and it's too late for them to then change pathways. So let's not be too narrow. If they don't know, keep a broad option. That would be better.
Thank you for that. Veronica says, Sister Temi, thanks. This information is transforming for parents with secondary school children. And Annalie say, thank you, Temi, very clear information. Jesus is Lord say, so are you saying BTEC is not bad? It gives better chance at uni?
I think it gives it equal chance. I wouldn't say better. It depends on the child. Like I said before, things like medicine, dentistry, you can't get onto with a BTEC. I'll be completely frank, but it's not bad. And I know there was a stigma years ago, and I fell into that as well, and just thought, oh, you can't do a BTEC. You're not smart if you do a BTEC. You won't do well. Actually, it's just a different way of learning. And there are a number of people here as well. They may want to mention to everyone they've done BTECs and they're successful with their respective careers. So it's just about knowing your child and actually supporting your child. A lot of my year 11s come to me now. I'm not the careers advisor, but I do, because I've seen a lot of students pick the wrong course and waste 2 or 3 years. I'm quite passionate about the career side. So I do offer in my free time a lot of, I know my students and I'll sit down and say, look, honestly, from your grades, you'll be better off with BTEC. Or because you like coursework and you like to do hands-on work, I think you'll be better off with BTEC. I did that 2 years ago, and some of those girls are now have got offers for law, social work, midwifery. And I even had a year 2 years ago just before I went for maternity, where 2 girls identical, one was A-level, one was BTEC, applied for teaching. And the girl on the BTEC route got the teaching and the one on the A-level didn't. Wow. Both grades were very good. And the only thing I could think that stood out was the BTEC student had the hands-on work experience from the course. So that was very much so when my eyes really opened and I thought, oh, wow, it really doesn't matter the course. It depends on the student. Lots of things. It could have been her application, but just know that the BTEC didn't hold her back.
Wow, thank you. And I know somebody also, I don't know why it is now, Tammy mentioned something quite significant, that it's good to be checking UCAS for what is required, and don't wait till the child gets to year 12. I would say even from year 10, be checking. Because from my experience, some universities don't accept BTEC for some subject area. So some courses that people want to study at BTEC is not an option. I know somebody that studied business and HR. He did the BTEC route from sixth form, BTEC in business, and then he did the 4-year sandwich route with placement year at uni. So that was because the research has been done from year 12 to see that, okay, there are some universities that will accept BTEC because it's more of coursework sort of base. And if you're going to go into the academic route, there are going to be exams at uni. I mean, complex sort of exam. So they wouldn't want to accept BTEC. So it depends on the course. I'm just going to move on very quickly. I noticed a lot of...
Sorry to interrupt you, just to say BTECs have changed now as well. They're not 100% coursework.
Oh.
So, no, it changed in the last 2 years. So 2016 onwards came a lot of changes. So health and social care, for example, is now 60-40, I think. 60% coursework, 40% exam. So they're still trained for exams. They even sat their raw exams in January. So they still have that exam skill that they would have maybe not had if they just did coursework.
So this will allow some universities to be accepting BTEC.
Yeah. And that's why things have changed a bit as well.
Okay, I'm just going to read very quickly. I noticed a lot of entry-level jobs seem to only list A-levels as a minimum rather than the BTEC and IB, etc. Do you know if this has been an issue for students that go through these alternative routes?
None of them have come back to us, to be honest, but then I'm not in touch with all of them, so I can't honestly say yes or no to that. But the ones we know that once they've got into uni, a lot of them with the BTEC route tend to do professional courses at uni that then lead them to qualifications such as teacher, nursing, midwifery, etc. I'm not sure about the other routes. But again, because things have changed, it only changed from 2016. We're yet to see the effects of that. Give it another 5 years and we'll really know cause and consequence.
Okay, thank you so much. And this question will be for both of you. Besides encouraging our children, what more can we do to encourage our children to become achievers in their field of interest? So who wants to speak first? What more can we do?
Before we go.
I was going to say Timmy can go. What more can we do? Keep talking to them, to be honest. Keep talking to them, communicating with them, showing yourself as a role model. Let them know where you also failed, and your challenges and things like that. I think it's just really encouraging them. Just keep talking to them about it, sharing ideas, and then role models, having the right role models around your children. I think that's quite important as well. Showing them, having the right role models. I think, yeah, that's
Thank you. What about yourself?
Yes, I'll definitely say the same. I think at secondary school age, particularly for children because that's where they're very impressionable and peer pressure becomes a big issue at that age, good or bad. So for them to really, really want to enjoy their field, so to speak, I'd encourage them to do online courses. Again, this is where your partnership or your work with the school is very important. Schools will regularly, I know we use a platform called Class Charts, or some schools call it Google Classrooms, etc. We'll regularly post, I don't know, a live speaker coming on to talk about accounting next week, Tuesday. As a parent, you could say, come on, Jacob, have you heard about that speaker? Let's watch it together, for example. So I know, especially with COVID, one of the advantages was there were lots of live, almost too many. There were sessions every week. We had accounting one week, we had media another week, just people giving up their time to talk about these things. And you don't know, 5 minutes may just click with your child, and that could be what secures their future. That could be what makes them think, I definitely want to do that job, or I definitely do not want to do that job. That's put me off. So online courses, very important.
Thank you. Thank you. And I would like us to say one thing that we're taking away from Tammy's session. Can we please comment very quickly? One thing so that Tammy can know that our session has been beneficial. Even if it's more than one thing, please, can we start putting a comment there very quickly as we wrap up? One thing, there are 44 people online at the minute. What are the things we're taking away? Supporting our children from year 7. BTEC is an alternative route. Start early research. Any more? Year 12 is important than year 13. Year 12 is more important. Year 12 is key. Education is now compulsory to the age of 18. Somebody has picked that up. I'm sure so many people have picked up things. Okay, thank you so much, sis. Aim for 5 grades to be sure. People are still, you can be reading the chat as I wrap up. So thank you so much, Mrs. Fumi Adeyemi and Mrs. Tammy as well. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving up your time to come and educate us so that obviously we can help our children. Thank you to all the listeners. Thank you so much. If you want to know more about Family Corner of Truly Making a Difference, we will be sharing, what's it called? We will be sharing the YouTube channel, and also we'll be sharing the Facebook page. It will be there. I think it's already there for you to subscribe. And one thing we normally do is for those that registered via Eventbrite, we normally send you like a recorded version with a YouTube link as well in case you want to subscribe or rewatch it again. Okay, that's it from me. Any final word from yourself, Mrs. Fumi, Mrs. Tammy?
Yeah, I just want to say that we should always remind our children to know who they are, identify yourself and, just know who you are. Yeah.
Thank you. Any final word from you, Mrs. Tammy?
Just to add to echo what Auntie Fumi said, the same thing, but also thank you so much to people that have come today and have interacted. It makes a big, big difference. And I hope that you're able to remember this in the future as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. We really appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you to all our friends and guests as well for participating. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you both for taking your time to be here tonight. Have a lovely evening, everyone. God bless you. Take care.